The next match is Intercontinental Title match. It's Rocky Maivia versus the Sultan, who also, of course, is Rikishi. It is a just under 10-minute match, and it ends when Maivia reverses a slam attempt into a schoolboy for a pin. The first we've seen of The Rock on our WrestleMania travels. Tom, what are your thoughts on this one?
This match was all right. I thought wasn't great. It was very interesting to find. You can see why the crowd didn't gravitate towards Rocky Maivia. Do you know what I mean? It's so cringe, to use one of Matt's phrases. Like, it's just one of these things where I'm just like, it just doesn't seem sincere. It seems really forced. They're forcing the Rocky Johnson stuff on him. Obviously, after the match finishes, the Sultan and the Iron Sheik kind of attack Rocky Maivia, and then Rocky Johnson comes down to make the save, and no one cares at all until the Sultan hits Rocky Johnson with a flag, and then there's some heat. But then all the crowd just do is chant USA instead. It's not a bad match. I think the Sultan's pretty great, you know. I quite like the gimmick. And it's obviously Rikishi, who was a good wrestler, and he's in great shape at this point as well. So he hits a lovely kind of diving headbutt, hits a wonderful pile driver. He's basically got the majority of the match because he's bigger and more powerful. I thought this match was pretty good. I liked at the beginning that Tony Atlas is in the crowd as well, and the King calls him an idiot because he's chewing gum as well. So there you go. That's his thoughts on that. But yeah, I thought this match was absolutely fine for what it was. It exceeded my expectations, which admittedly weren't very high. I was just thinking to myself what relation Fatu and Rocky Maivia are to each other. Probably distant second cousins or something. But I did think to myself at the time, this must be really nice for them, you know, being family and being like, you know, we're having a match at WrestleMania. This is pretty cool. Do you know what I mean? So that was my thoughts on the match.
If they'd have been really clever in 1999, 2000, they could have pretended that this was the beginning of Rikishi doing it for The Rock.
Yeah.
He led down for The Rock in his first WrestleMania match.
That would have been genius. I'm still bowled over by the phrase Rikishi and good match being used in the same sentence. I never thought that was something you could actually hear before, so I'm quite surprised by that. Yeah, you could tell I'm not a fan of Rikishi in the slightest.
I think it's interesting, actually. I think the minute you got into it in 2001, right, I think that 6 months before that is when Rikishi had the last good thing that he did. And I honestly think all the stuff you would have seen is rubbish, but the stuff nearly entirely before that, he was a fine worker.
He also as well, there was a period of about 6 months where outside of the main event, Too Cool and Rikishi were the most overact in the entire company.
I remember very specifically a match, I think on SmackDown, Triple H versus Rikishi. Triple H was champion, and he was super over in that match, going for the title. It was quite impressive. But the thing is that Rikishi had been a wrestler long time before he became Rikishi. We've seen him in the Head Shrinkers. The Head Shrinkers are a fine tag team. And not just, you know, they date back to kind of early 90s in NWA and stuff. So they've been around. He'd been around a long old time and actually done a lot of good stuff. It's just he's best known for being Rikishi, which is a shame because his stuff as Rikishi after the first 6 months of being in that position are just not that great.
I can already tell you my most memorable Rikishi moment is the end of the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, where he had Vince's head shout up his ass. That's as good a moment as that was the peak of Rikishi for me, but that's Rikishi. This is the Sultan. So other than loving his shoes, I must admit,
yeah,
those are some fantastic shoes. Fair play to him for that. This match for me, it actually turned out a lot better than I thought it had any right to. I really wasn't expecting much of it, and I think because of that low bar, it ended up not too bad. I mean, I still find it such a strange sight to see The Rock do drop kicks. It's just such a strange thing to see. Like, I know in some ways he's obviously trying to emulate his father, and you know, it's just such a weird thing. Like, you don't see The Rock throw a drop kick, so that's bizarre. But yeah, like I said, this was okay. It definitely was better than I thought. There was some decent stuff in there. You know, they did a pile driver at one point again. I always love seeing a good pile driver, so I thought that was cool. The idea of Rocky Johnson coming out at the end, I actually thought, you know what, that was probably a really nice moment for both The Rock and his dad. So I'm actually quite happy for them that they got to do that. But yeah, I do think you're right, Tom, in that unfortunately nobody really gave it. They really did try, and I felt they had a hell of a lot of time as well. And And for me, you're going to notice, throughout the show, for me, that's a big theme. A lot of these matches were given a hell of a lot of time, and these guys definitely were too. But yeah, like I said, it definitely, surpassed my expectations, and it was okay. It wasn't too bad.
So I'm trying to figure out the nature of the relation between The Rock and Rikishi. It's not at all clear.
No, are you on the Wikipedia page?
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite far removed, isn't it?
It is. It says they're blood brothers. So it says not them two, but it says Amituani Anawahi and Fanine Anderson, Peter Maivia, were blood brothers. I don't know what that means, other than what I understand it to mean, which is that you just share a little bit of blood. You know what I mean? Like at some point when you cut your hands and you shake hands, and that makes you blood brothers. Don't know what else it can be. So they may not be actually related really at all. I don't know.
But then does that mean then that the Rock's family is removed from the four Anoa'i?
Yeah, it's not part of the Anoa'i lineage. Technically, I mean, it doesn't even appear to go back beyond those two men.
Yeah,
it appears to be that they've created some form of, I think it's like a modern ritual where you basically swear a blood oath to one another.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that. So again, not in the Western way of looking at it, not technically family, although I'm sure in Samoa that makes them family.
So you've got the Anoa'i family here, and then you've got the the High Chief Peter Maivia's family here, and then all the way over there you've just got Samoa Joe just hanging out on his own.
Well, yeah, and there's also like Nia Jax, for example, second cousin once removed to Dwayne Johnson, but not part of the Anoa'i family either. So
is she a snooker?
No, but
Who's
Snooker's well, obviously
Tamina.
But that's not they're Fijian anyway. They're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, not really related at all. Although I guess they may be very, very distantly. I was just looking through this though. So Rikishi's brothers include Umaga and Tama from the Islanders, and then Roman Reigns is his cousin. This is interesting from what I can tell here.
Well, Roman Reigns is Rikishi's
cousin. Yeah, from what I can tell.
Okay. Rosie was in there somewhere, wasn't he? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's Roman Reigns' brother. Yokozuna is also a cousin to Rikishi and to Roman Reigns.
And then obviously you've got the Usos and Solo and another Fatu. There's another Fatu son who wrestles for like MLW or someone, isn't there?
I don't know. It's hard. There's loads of them. There's bloody loads of them.
Blood brothers.
And they include Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Manu, Samu, Fatu, Yokozuna, Rosie,
Manu,
Roman Reigns, Tama, Sika, Afa, basically everyone. I think by now it's fair to say they probably are the best or the most successful wrestling family of all time. I would suggest, given.
I'd argue the McMahons probably, but
well, not in the ring, maybe.
Okay.